My name is Fifi Peters, and it is with great delight that I will have the job of being your MC for the event this year. Of course, we know that the theme of this year's event is Green Skills for a Sustainable Future. I'd like to extend a warm welcome before we get into it to dignitaries and all the delegates who will be joining this year's event under theme. I was recently listening to a speech, some utterances by the UN Secretary General. He said something that really caught my attention in regards to climate change and sustainability. He did say that there is no plan B, of course, when it does come to climate change. What he meant was that climate change needs to be our plan. Of course, we don't have a planet B. He was speaking at the recent launch of the Global Center for Adaptation to Africa, one of the latest initiatives, of course, for the continent and the world to strengthen their resilience against climate change. Of course, doing so at this present moment in time is not the easiest task to do. Many of us are still grappling against the COVID-19 pandemic. On the one hand, the of course, has plunged many economies into disarray. But on the other, many say that it has provided an opportunity to press the reset button and ask ourselves how we can be more inclusive and, of course, more sustainable. Put simply, how we can build back better. I do look forward to hearing all your thoughts and the knowledge and the information that will be shared on this platform for the next 3 days regarding this exact subject matter. I invite you to share any questions you have with the various speakers and throughout the presentations that you will be hearing for the event. It's very simple, of course, by just typing it up in the chat function. And we are here to really talk and to converse and to learn back best practices together. On that note, I would also like to bring your attention to the fact that you can share your experience of this year's event, of course, on social media, the hashtag #LKDF Forum. And on that score, while you are also on the social media page, do not hesitate to follow at UNIDO, also at LKDF for any of the latest developments pertaining to this year's event. But let us get the show on the road. I'd like to introduce you to our first lineup of speakers who will be officially opening this year's event. They are on your screen right there, as you can see, waiting to share their thoughts on the theme of green skills for a sustainable future.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the world is currently facing extraordinary times with the COVID-19 global pandemic affecting social and economic systems alike. We must therefore think ahead and assist countries to recover better and to rebuild more sustainably. I'm thus very pleased to open this first virtual forum of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility, organized in collaboration with the Swedish International Development Agency, the European Training Foundation, and WorldSkills, another theme of the Green Skills for a Sustainable Future. In many countries, the content and quality of technical education do not meet the private sector's demand. As a result, the industrial sector is short of qualified personnel, while graduates cannot find jobs. More than 1 in 5 young people globally are in neither employment, education, nor training. And 2 out of 3 are young women, whereas 65% of children at the primary school will fill the jobs that do not yet exist. UNIDO has an opportunity to anticipate the challenges and equip the generation of tomorrow with green industrial skills. To do this, UNIDO already works with the public and private sector to meet the industrial needs and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of the Agenda 2030. The COVID-19 crisis and the European Union Green Deal offer a timely opportunity to rethink the way we operate to advance inclusive and sustainable industrial development. For this reason, we need to work together to develop industrial skills and invest in training and lifelong learning. I look forward to hearing your views and experiences during this forum, and I thank you for your participation.
Excellencies, representatives from states and international organizations, invited guests, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Addis Ababa. It's a great honor and privilege for me to address this meeting on learning and knowledge development facility under the theme Green Skills for a Sustainable Future. On behalf of the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and myself, I would like to express my gratitude as well as my deep appreciation to the United Nations Industrial Development Organization for the unreserved, all-rounded support for Ethiopia's developmental efforts. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you all are aware, the COVID-19 pandemic is challenging countries, rich or poor, big or small, equally without discrimination, causing loss of life and destabilizing the social and economic situations. As you might have seen from World Economic Outlook report, we are anticipating the worst global downturn after the Great Depression. According to UNCTAD's report 2020, COVID-19 will drag African economies into a fall of about 1.4 in GDP, with smaller economies facing contraction of up to 7.8%. The contraction is mainly a result of export adjustments affecting primary commodities, exporters, and the attendant losses to tax revenue, which reduces the capacity of government to extend public service necessary to respond to the crisis. As a result, Africa loses about 5% in public revenue, and with total merchandise exports shrinking by about 17%. On the other hand, the world reached to the fourth industrial revolution, which results in the blurring of boundaries between nations, and digital world brings us all together. This revolution is a fusion of advancement in artificial intelligence, robotics, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, genetic engineering, quantum computing, and other technologies. It has also the potential to rise global economy level and improve the quality of life for all human beings. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, industrialization is a key to job creation, poverty reduction, and economic stabilization in Ethiopia. We know that this can lead to sustainable and inclusive growth. But what we need to know more is how to actually go about doing this. The AU Agenda 2063 and the SDG Goal 9 stresses the importance of industrialization. While focus for industrialization is needed, we must also not forget about the importance of other sectors, like agriculture and education, since without the development of these sectors, we cannot hope for success in the industrial sector. UNIDO has been operating in Ethiopia since 1968, and more than 300 projects have been implemented around all segments of the local value chain, ranging from initiatives to provide technical assistance and capacity building to policy advice. To mention the most recent, the Program for Country Partnership project was a pilot project, well designed and aligned to our own national development policy framework, that is the second Growth and Transformation Plan. The three priority sectors of the PCP, agro, food processing, laser and laser products, and textile and garment were all at the heart of our own national priorities that were aimed at achieving the country's SDGs targets. Currently, the government of Ethiopia is implementing a holistic macroeconomic reform agenda known as homegrown economic reform, whose ultimate goal is job creation, inclusive growth, poverty reduction, and creating the path to prosperity. The agenda aims at correcting the imbalance and safeguarding macro-financial stability, focusing on three main pillars: macroeconomic reform, structural reform, and conduct sectoral reform aimed at ensuring access to finance, growth, and productivity, and addressing sector-specific institutional and market failures. We believe that UNIDO's contribution towards this end would be immense. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I once again would like to thank UNIDO for organizing this annual meeting on learning and knowledge development facility. Most importantly, today we are here to learn from each other and get inspired about the future of industrialization. I would like to close my remarks by wishing to have a lively and fruitful discussion. Thank you again.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of the Federal Government of Somalia, we are honored to participate in the annual meeting of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility, LKDF, under the theme of Green Skills for Sustainable for Future. In recent years, a positive momentum has been generated and Somalia is back on the international stage, working closely with its partners to encourage entrepreneurship, promote trade, investment, and revive the industrial sector. As a developing country, the most suitable approach towards effective development and sustainable decent jobs and economic prosperity is to promote modern economy through sustainable modes of consumption and production, green skills. Hence, as the share of manufacturing in Somalia economic growth is relatively small, adapting to new modes of production is easier due to the fact that the sector is still virgin and there are no decisions and dominance of existing technologies and systems that it makes very difficult for new technologies or skills to compete. Therefore, the development of skills, knowledge, and competence will not only be a component of transition to low-carbon economy, but an opportunity to revive the industrial sector of the country through green skills and realize smart manufacturing. In the case of developing countries like Somalia, merging green growth policies and ending poverty goals is equally important. In this context, partnership between the UN, private sector, and government become important in tackling these issues by sharing risks, responsibilities, and most importantly, leveraging core business competencies. Therefore, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of the Federal Government of Somalia highly welcomes the LKDF Forum, which provides a platform to exchange ideas and solutions on green industrial skills, innovation, growth, and sustainable development. With this in mind, we encourage discussions and exchange of views to move towards better business and a better world. I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the government of Somalia to thank UN agencies, international donor countries, facilitating us towards transition to a greener economy. In this regard, our appreciation is expressed towards the various initiatives taken by UNIDO and supported through Italian cooperation. Thank you.
May I join the other speakers in thanking the United Nations Industrialization Organization, UNIDO, and Swedish International Development Agency, Sida, for organizing the platform aimed at promoting industrial skills development among young people in emerging economies. This platform is relevant and timely because it helps to bring together both public and private players to reduce the mismatch between supply and demand of skills that are needed in promoting industrialization. I would like also thank UNIDO and Sida for supporting Zambia's developmental programs in energy, health, infrastructure, trade, and capacity building programs, including training in various technical skills. All these initiatives are implementing government efforts in accelerating implementation of both industrial policy and trade policy with a view of stimulating economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, there is need to protect the environment in the conduct of economic activity at global, regional, and national level. Zambia, as a member of the United Nations and participant in the framework of the United Nations Environmental Programs, UNEP, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, has taken steps to ensure that the issue of environment and climate change are considered in the area of industrial development. As for Zambia, the emphasis is on adaptation to climate change, which has a bearing on the process of industrialization. Further, the recently adopted Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, emphasize the need for development to be pursued in a manner that takes care of the environment. Our developmental agenda focuses on stimulating economic growth without affecting the environment. The process of industrialization oftentimes exerts pressure on the environment and eventually climate change if left unchecked. Zambia has a legal and institutional framework to facilitate mainstreaming of environmental issues at policy and industrial level. The Environment Management Act No. 12 of 2011 seeks to integrate environmental management, protection, and conservation on the environment and the sustainable management of the use of natural resources. As such, the Act requires, among other things, that investment undergo a process of environmental impact assessment, EIA, in order to ascertain the impact of the environment and ensure the necessary measures are put in place to control or mitigate the effects of pollution and protect the environment. The effects of climate change are being experienced in sectors such as agriculture, water, and energy, thereby affecting the economic activity. Recently, climate change has resulted in the new rainfall patterns that have contributed negatively to energy generation and ultimately industrial productivity. Similarly, agricultural productivity in southern parts of Zambia has been negatively impacted as a result of the changing rainfall patterns, and this is having an impact on prices of raw materials in subsectors such as agro-processing. Our national industrial policy seeks to promote intervention towards adaptation to climate change and encouraging investment using green and clean technologies. The policy also emphasizes the need to protect the environment in order to ensure sustainable development. In conclusion, as we promote industrialization, the demand of labor force with green skill in the green industrial sector is important. These skills are needed to perform specialized tasks that bring in profits without affecting the environment and the ecosystem in order to ensure sustainable economic development. Green skills are the common skills needed by various industrial sectors. It is therefore vital for skills training institutions to revise and revamp their respective curriculum so that they could produce graduates with green skills that are able to satisfy the demand of the labor market. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, from Zambia, I would like to thank organizers, the moderators, and the audience, and wish you a wonderful and fruitful discussion. I thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in UNIDO's annual meeting of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility. Over the next 18 months, we will see an unprecedented effort to reboot the global economy and help people recover from the devastating impact of COVID-19. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to recover better, to recover green and sustainable. Such a shift to a low-carbon way of life will better equip us to achieve the SDGs and the goals of the Paris Agreement. A green recovery also creates jobs. Indeed, studies show that government spending on renewable technologies create over 2.5 times more jobs than spending the same amount on fossil fuels. The ILO tells us that a move towards circularity could create millions of additional jobs. However, a green recovery does mean that the nature and profile of jobs will change. This means different skills, different knowledge, different competencies are going to be required. And nobody must be left behind in this transition. This might entail upgrading skills and adjusting qualifications, developing new skills for new occupations and job profiles, and retraining workers that face the risk of unemployment. The private sector has a big role to play in skilling and reskilling the global workforce. This forum can help draw attention to skills gaps and build partnerships to make sure that the workforce, and particularly young people, are equipped for a green economy. And finally, as policymakers design and implement policies for a green transition and transformation, the United Nations and partners stand with them in support of green industrial development and job creation. We at UNEP are very proud to have worked closely with UNIDO and UNITA to develop an online course on green industrial policy that has recently been launched. I hope that many more partnerships and initiatives on green skills can be developed at this forum. And as I said at the beginning, we have a unique opportunity to forge a shared, sustainable future. We need to make this moment count. Let's get it done.
My name is Carin Jämtin, and I'm the Director General of Sida, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. Lifelong learning and skills development are necessary ingredients for productive employment. Thus, they are key building blocks for people to lift themselves out of poverty and for people to stay out of poverty. It is undoubtedly so that we are living in a changing time. The world is changing. Climate change affecting the poorest the most. Automation and digitalization taking off in a speed never seen before, creating opportunities but also many challenges. On top of this, we are currently living in COVID-19 pandemic times, creating huge economic and other challenges around the world. It is important when we are currently looking at transition, that this transition is guided by the Agenda 2030 and the global goals. The transition has to be just, inclusive and sustainable, and always remember not to leaving no one behind, rather. The public and private sectors and all other actors must join hands and work together. Therefore, I'm very happy about our partnership with UNIDO for LKDF 2.0. The LKDF 2.0 will directly and indirectly provide support to governments, private sector, training institutions, students, as well as investors to build stronger local economies, create jobs, and improve working conditions. I would like to conclude by wishing you fruitful, open, and brave discussions. Discussions which must lead to innovative and catalytic solutions to the many challenges we are currently facing all around the globe. Thank you all for listening.
It gives me enormous pleasure to announce our partnership between WorldSkills International and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. We are two organizations that share many common goals and a common vision in a belief that a sustainable economy that creates jobs while protecting our environment is best achieved through green skills. WorldSkills was founded almost 70 years ago, but our mission to support and celebrate the amazing talents of young people everywhere means we are always looking forward. That means promoting green skills as they play an increasing part in the global economy and have an important role of transforming the traditional models of production and manufacturing into technologies and practices that are more environmentally sustainable. The LKDF Forum will help us identify the challenges and trends in greening industrial activities. We are supporting the development of knowledge and competences by showcasing new skills that reflect the demands of the future low-carbon economy at our international competitions, which draw from 2/3 of the world's population. We want to make sure that young people, especially in the developing world, have access to the very best education and training programs. This is something that we actively support through our initiatives like WorldSkills Africa and a growing global network of capacity building centres that share knowledge and best practices. As this forum demonstrates, COVID-19 means more than ever that we must be agile and use imaginative ways to move forward in our joint mission. The good news is that this pandemic has not deflected or deterred these ambitions, but instead strengthened our determination and highlighted the importance to reach a future that is still so full of promise.
Greetings. It's a pleasure to speak to you today. Let me begin by congratulating the Learning and Knowledge Development Facilities and UNIDO for organizing this forum on a theme that has been central to many discussions here at the ILO. Climate change and environmental degradation are among the greatest challenges of our time. The ILO estimates the transition to energy sustainability and a circular economy may create over 100 million jobs. But nearly 80 million jobs may also be lost if reskilling and upskilling measures are not in place to help workers transition to new jobs and also prevent negative social consequences. Now we are facing a new and unexpected disruption. Over the past month, the COVID-19 pandemic has also vastly accelerated many of the transformative changes impacting the world of work, with millions now finding themselves with inadequate skills and without income. The pandemic is posing new challenges to our goal of just transition. We will need even more effective policies, institutions, and actions to address the widening gaps in social protection and empower enterprises to take advantage of the opportunities and support the skilled development in the green economy. We believe that the human-centered approaches called for in the ILO Centenary Declaration on the Future Work will help facilitate these crucial changes. The new agenda calls for the supporting transition through investing in people's capabilities through lifelong learning, and social dialogue is the principal mechanism for identifying current and future skill needs and for developing skills strategy that enable the creation of the new jobs and minimize risk in the labor market. Bringing all these elements together, the ILO report last year on Skills for a Greener Future proposed an effective skills environment nexus and climate-resilient development pathways for job-rich, inclusive, and equitable growth. In the current crisis, this is more important than ever. In the face of the multiple drivers of changes in the future work, the skills challenge is daunting, but the mission is possible if we act now to save our planet and to have a brighter future. With good choices and quick actions, we can certainly shape the future of work we want. I wish you all a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
I'm Helen, Goodwill Ambassador of UNIDO and head of Binance Charity. There are only 10 years left for all of us to achieve the 2030 Agenda for SDG. But challenges are still ahead of us. The COVID-19 pandemic brought great disruption to the global health system, supply chains, and economic stability. In the post-COVID era, as we face those challenges with global economy liquidity, the world is more than fragmented and countries are more isolated. Therefore, an inclusive and sustainable, resilient global economy is more important than ever. In order to accelerate recovery from disruption and to advance sustainable development, countries should put utmost importance on the reformation of the economy into an independent and resilient green economy. They should look to develop adequate green skills through supporting policies, education, investment, and most importantly, innovation and industrial development. Both private and public sector should leverage new technological infrastructure, such as blockchain and 5G, to reconnect economic players and regain the freedom of values globally. Times are difficult. We need leadership in the timely transformation and response in the uncertainty and challenges. Leaders in the technological sector should stand in the fronting line of knowledge transfer and actively engage in green skills to develop for all countries. As head of Binance Charity, I'm excited and committed to guiding and shaping the blockchain technology into a powerful driver for sustainable development. We must come together and work together for a common, shared, sustainable future for all of us.
Dear Director General, ladies and gentlemen, friends of UNIDO, I'm honored and pleased to participate in this way at the annual meeting of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility. The time is running out. We must speed up our efforts to save the environment and find solutions for more environmentally friendly production. And how can we do that without knowledge and skills? The answer is simple. We cannot. We need to learn how to treat our planet better when we produce our goods, in the schools, in the universities, in the workplaces. And the young people are leading the way. I know about students in my own country, Norway, who travels across the world collaborating with students in other countries, studying how the greening best can take place in the society. They call themselves changing agents. Change has never before been more relevant. In fact, we all need to be changing agents in the days and years to come. The development of skills, knowledge and competence is, in particular, a major component of the transition to a low-carbon economy, making the adoption and use of resource-efficient, sustainable process and technologies possible by the private sector and for individual consumers. The UNIDO-hosted LKDF platform promotes industrial skills among young people in emerging developing economies. The LKDF support of the establishment and upgrading of industrial training academies to help meet the labor market's increasing demand for skilled employees of both genders have never before been more correct in relation to the tasks we face. We need to meet the future with equal opportunities. I wish the best for this very important annual meeting and look forward to the many good discussions on very important topics. Thank you.